Horror is not just something you see. It is something you hear. A voice in the dark. A whisper too close. A sound that should not be there. Horror audiobooks have mastered this fear, turning simple words into nightmares that linger long after the story ends. But how did we get here? From scratchy vinyl recordings to immersive binaural experiences, the evolution of horror audiobooks has been a journey of terror, innovation, and pure dread. And today, on Live Play, we are diving deep into that chilling history. Every era has shaped the way horror is told. Every voice has left its mark. And now, it is time to uncover the secrets behind the voices that haunt us. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and listen carefully, because once you enter this world, there is no turning back. The evolution of horror audiobooks. From crackling vinyl to digital nightmares. The birth of the spine-tingling. Early horror audiobooks. There was a time when horror was silent, when the only way to experience fear was by reading words on a page. A quiet, lonely experience, where the imagination did all the work. But then, horror found a voice. Classic stories like Dracula and the War of the Worlds were no longer trapped in books. They were spoken, recorded, and shared. But technology had its limits. The recordings were grainy, the voices were stiff, sound effects, if any, were crude and unpolished. Yet, something was happening. Listeners no longer just read horror. They heard it. The words gained weight. The pauses stretched into tension. The silence between sentences felt like the calm before a storm. The effect was powerful. A new way to experience fear had begun. The golden age of horror audiobooks. The arrival of cassette tapes changed everything. Horror stories were no longer bound to physical books or limited radio broadcasts. They became portable, a voice in the dark that followed the listener wherever they went. This was the era of masterful narration. Legendary voices like Sir Derek Jacobi transformed storytelling. A single whisper could send chills down the spine. Every sentence was spoken with intention. Every pause carried meaning. Sound design took its first major leap forward. Creaking floors, howling winds, distant echoes. The world of horror was expanding beyond the words themselves. The listener was no longer just an observer. They were inside the story. Every sound was a reminder that something was lurking just out of sight. The digital revolution. Horror audiobooks enter the 21st century. With the rise of digital technology, horror audiobooks became more accessible than ever. Cassette tapes and CDs faded away. MP3s and streaming platforms like Audible took their place. Suddenly, horror was everywhere. And with that, the genre evolved. New subgenres emerged. Psychological horror that played with the mind. Cosmic horror that blurred the line between reality and nightmare. Slow-burning dread that built tension to an unbearable level. Independent creators took horror in new directions. No longer controlled by publishers, they experimented. They pushed boundaries. They created terrifying experiences that would have never been possible in the past. The way horror was told had changed forever. Modern horror audiobooks. A new era of innovation. Now, horror audiobooks are more than just stories. They are experiences. Binaural audio surrounds the listener, creating an illusion of presence. The sound shifts, moves, and breathes. The listener feels like they are inside the nightmare. ASMR techniques amplify the smallest details. A slow exhale, the scrape of nails on wood, a whisper that feels too close to the ear. And then, silence. The mind fills in the gaps. The fear becomes real. Interactive storytelling allows horror to be shaped by choice. The listener is no longer passive. They are part of the story, and the choices they make determine their fate. Horror audiobooks have evolved beyond narration. They have become something else. Something immersive. Something inescapable. A chilling legacy. From the crackling voices of early recordings to the immersive nightmares of today, horror audiobooks have never stopped evolving. Each new era has pushed the boundaries of fear. Each technological leap has made horror more real. But the core remains the same. The power of a voice. The weight of silence. The feeling that something unseen is lurking just beyond the words. Horror audiobooks have proven that fear is not just visual. It can be heard. It can be felt. And as long as people crave the thrill of terror, horror will continue to adapt. It will find new ways to whisper in the dark. If you enjoy exploring the world of horror, there is more to come. Do not forget to subscribe to Live Play for more deep dives into the dark corners of storytelling. There is always another tale waiting, another voice calling from the shadows, and you would not want to miss what comes next.